What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react to something really special that happened the other day. So, I remember a while ago learning for the first time how Canadians helped liberate the Netherlands from Nazis during World War II. And it looks like the Dutch actually honor Canada and those Canadians every year for this. And as a matter of fact, if I understand correctly, May 5th was actually made into an official national holiday in the Netherlands, which I didn't know about. And I just thought this sounded so cool, and to be honest, most Americans don't know about any of this at all. So today, I really want to check out some of these May 5th celebrations in honor of those Canadians.
That 22 Canadian Second World War veterans could even make this trip to the Netherlands is remarkable.
Oh my God. So it says this is the 80 years later, 80th anniversary of this liberation of the Netherlands by Canadians, World War II. They said there's 22 Canadian veterans making this trip to the Netherlands for this celebration. So that's incredible, by the way. Holy cow, these guys must be healthy as a hog, for lack of a better word. Like, this happened 80 years ago. If you're in the military, hopefully you're like 18 at least or older. So some of these guys are in their 90s or like 100 years old. Is that possible? Is that true? That's incredible.
At 98, Felix Labelle is one of the youngest.
It's with humility that I think of those who died. And when someone shakes my hand, I tell them, you're shaking the hand in the name of the ones who died for our country.
What a freaking badass Canadian right there, I gotta tell you. And so Canadian of him, first and foremost, to be like, when you shake my hand, when you remember, that time period and what we did, remember the people that we lost and the people who sacrificed themselves. And that's an incredible, very humble message to give. It'd be easy, I think, for, if you're in this position where you got like the whole country, like the Netherlands, like thanking you, like holding this special ceremony for you, it'd be easy to be like, yeah, I'm pretty cool. Yeah, I did that. All right. It'd be kind of tempting to I don't know, let your ego be like, and they should, by the way, like a lot of these guys all of these guys who are like making this journey, and all the servicemen who, have passed away by now, who helped them accomplish this, they should all like feel extremely proud, and like they deserve that for sure. But he's very humble about it.
In a ceremony with a strong Indigenous presence, Canadian and Dutch officials lauded those who fought and those who didn't make it home.
Yeah.
7,600 Canadian soldiers were killed during the vicious battles that would eventually liberate the Netherlands in May 1945.
Whoa. Over 7,000 Canadians died during this whole mission. I didn't realize it was so many. So this is as much a time to celebrate, the veterans, the 20-some veterans who are alive today, celebrate them and what they did, but also to honor the over 7,000 Canadians who gave their lives to try to liberate the Netherlands.
including Barbara Wood's father, Robert Kindersley. An engineer, he was killed days after fighting in Europe ended when a German bomb he was trying to defuse detonated.
He had that one job to do. His suitcase was packed. Unfortunately, it was a booby. Came to him, killed him immediately. He had sent me a letter to say, I'm going to be home for your birthday. My birthday was in June. I didn't make it to my 9th birthday.
During the war, Honorary Lieutenant General Richard
Oh my God. This is supposed to be, what the heck? It's supposed to be like a day of remembrance and celebration. That's a sad story. Oh my God.
Romer was a reconnaissance pilot. Now 101, he fears some lessons of the war are being forgotten, as alliances that have protected Europe since then are fraying.
Holy cow, look at all those medals. My God. Can some of these guys, like, give me their secret? Like, they were active military during World War II. They're still, like, out and about, traveling to the Netherlands, like, still alive and, like, doing pretty well by the look of it. Like, over 100 years old? What the heck are you Canadian veterans? Like, what's your secret? What's going on here? How are you doing this?
To see it, it's starting to come apart a little bit is not very encouraging, because the big nations like Russia and others will take advantage if they possibly can. So I'm hopeful that Canada will do its part fully.
For the Dutch, the valor of the Canadians who liberated them is taught in schools. This was a chance to say thanks to some personally, likely for the last time. And Adrian, you know, the stamina of these vets was...
The heroic feats of these Canadians are taught literally in school to Dutch children. And they grow up like learning about how awesome and the heavy price a lot of Canadians paid and what they did for the Netherlands. This is just such a cool story. And I've learned a little bit about this in the past, but today I kind of want to see what is like the remembrance and the celebration of May the 5th sort of look like.
Really something else. It was pretty warm out there. They weren't in the shade for the whole time. Then they took time to do their walks afterwards. People treated them like celebrities. Pretty extraordinary.
And so they should. You were also talking
Wow.
with some of the Dutch people from this area who weren't part of the delegation, but just wanted to be here.
I met a man named Rigo Wolters, really interesting guy, took his bike here. He says he has to come just so he appreciates the price of freedom, and it does have a price. He says his house has lots of books. He's read all about the Canadian contribution, and for him, those maple leaves etched on the gravestones, he says, that's a very powerful symbol of freedom.
So this cemetery of Canadians, really, was that located in Canada, or are they in the Netherlands? Or I think I missed that a little bit, but it's really, really cool to see how much appreciation the Dutch people have for Canada and how they learn about this. And this is really not something that we are taught about specifically here in America in school growing up. We learn about World War II, of course, but not really the Canadian achievements so much, which is sad. So it's always so cool to learn about stuff like this.
On this day of remembrance in the Netherlands, Canada and some of its oldest soldiers who gave the Dutch back their freedom were singled out for gratitude.
We are deeply moved that so many veterans are present as well.
Yeah.
The Canadian War Cemetery in Holton is the final resting place for nearly 1,400 Commonwealth soldiers.
Yeah, I think this is in the Netherlands. It's the final resting place for thousands of Canadians who died in the Netherlands. Yeah, they're talking about how that one Dutch guy drove in on his bicycle. He probably didn't do that to get to Canada. He's probably in the Netherlands.
Mostly Canadians who were killed in the final months of the Second World War as their units drove out Hitler's troops.
Wow.
The Dutch appreciation is not token. Canadian flags are everywhere. And at Saturday's parade in nearby Apeldoorn, thousands came out to personally thank the Canadian vets who are able to return 80 years later.
This is so freaking cool. That's so cool. And it's cool that they traveled to the Netherlands too. So, like a lot of them are like 100 years old. That's awesome. And they look like they're doing good, seriously. And just the appreciation. And I feel like it's easy, especially if you, and the younger and younger you are, to look back at these time periods like World War II, some of this stuff. It's easy for younger people to look back and be like, that's just something I read about in like a history book. Yeah, that happened a long time ago. It's like it's not that long ago, for one thing. There's literally Canadians still alive who literally took part in the liberation of the Netherlands. And it's awesome that they physically get to meet these Canadians. And it's not just some story. It's not just like a couple lines in a book. It's like this is a real individual who like fought and his comrades died and he sacrificed, and it's so cool.
Thank you for being here.
Mary Simon is Canada's Governor General.
This friendship and this sense of belonging to each other is very strong.
It's a sense of wonder.
102-year-old George Brewster from Duncan, BC, flew Spitfires over occupied Europe and the Netherlands.
You meet people and realize how gracious and how kind and how they remember. And I think that remembrance is the thing that is etched in my mind.
James.
It's so cool. Like, it's also so like, there's just something really fun about seeing Canadian veterans. They're all so freaking nice. Like, 80 years ago, these guys were like running around the Netherlands with guns, like killing Nazis, like badass stuff. And then it's like, they're just the nicest down to earth people. And somehow they're like, can they like give me their diet plan or like their supplements, or how are you 102 and like so well put together and articulate? Like, I'm so impressed. Part of me, just for my own health, I'm just like blown away. Like, what the heck? Anyway, I'm getting a little distracted by that. I'm sorry.
James enlisted with the Royal Canadian Engineers.
More than anything, these commemorations are about keeping stories and memories alive.
Right.
These students from Owen Sound and Meaford, Ontario, traveled a long way to learn about fallen soldiers from their hometowns.
What? Like, there's Canadian students who traveled to the Netherlands to take part in this whole thing. That's amazing. What a great opportunity, too. Canada, you guys really do it right. Like, honoring, celebrating your veterans, and the Netherlands. I want to give credit to the Netherlands and the Dutch people who, like, I don't know much about them, but God, 80 years later, they still remember this so fondly and with so much appreciation. They had like people lining the streets in like a parade, shaking hands and stuff. It's amazing.
It's close to home, like knowing where he grew up. We went to the same high school, and it's kind of like crazy to think that we're like similar age, like he's not much older than me.
To conclude this solemn day, a helicopter dropped 15,000 poppies.
Oh.
Monday will be filled with happier celebrations
Poppies.
of liberation.
Poppies. Poppies. What's a poppy? Like a poppy seed? That's not right. Is that like a petal? I don't know. Anyway, it's like confetti or something cool. Maybe something more meaningful. I don't know what a poppy is, but out into the sky. That's cool. Another little tradition it seems they have. It seems that this celebration goes on for many days long. They're saying like this is where they go to the cemetery, they honor the graves, they shake hands. There seems to be even more to this celebration.
And Adrian, children were a big part of this day. Not only did they rush to pick up all of those poppies that fell from the sky, they also each put a rose on the grave of a Canadian soldier and then said his name out loud so that he would not be forgotten.
That's awesome.
And Chris, I know we've talked about this, about how special it is to see the Canadian vets at 101, 104 being able to participate in these events. What's your sense of how they're holding up?
Well, as you say, 22 of them were able to travel here, but these are very long emotional days. 9 felt up to coming to Holton. The parade here in Apeldoorn likely tired a lot of them out, but in a good way. So many people wanted to see them, shake their hands, say thank you. And of course, there's going to be a lot more of that kind of emotion on Monday.
Oh, so this celebration is going to keep going for a few days. Yeah, that's awesome that the Canadian veterans made the journey, those that could. It's like, I'm sure the Dutch people appreciate it. I'm sure those veterans, like, my God, what an incredible experience for those who can do it. What an incredible experience it must be traveling to this other country. Well, they did that 80 years ago for, very different reasons, very different circumstance. But to travel like across the world to the Netherlands and have thousands of people celebrate you, that must be a pretty crazy experience too. All right, we got one more video. Crowds lining the streets to thank Canadian veterans in the Netherlands.
This is the main street in the city of Apeldoorn in the Netherlands, and
wow,
seems like the entire town has come out for this.
Wow, like literally thousands of people.
Celebration that occurs once every 5 years, a commemoration of liberation, but also of Canada. It was Canadian soldiers who drove the Nazis out of Apeldoorn in 1945.
So this is specifically a town in the Netherlands, Apeldoorn, specifically where Nazis were driven out by Canadians. Maybe specifically some of these Canadians in this exact town 80 years ago.
And who fed its starving population.
And they fed the starving population. I forgot about that. That's another part of the story. Driving out the Nazi Germany and then helping feed and helping Dutch civilians survive in the very hard times. That's right.
Saturday, some of those soldiers who served in the skies, on the seas, and on land returned to a hero's welcome. 22 Canadian vets, the youngest 96, the oldest 105, led the parade.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Man, you just drove like across the freaking planet at like 100 years old, and you're into the Netherlands, and you're like, thank you for coming. They live down the street, but I'm just joking. It's obviously because he's just so thankful for the appreciation and the recognition, and that's just so awesome. The Dutch people here are awesome. The Canadian veterans are awesome. It's just such a great, wholesome little day.
Thank you for being here.
And amidst a sea of Canadian flags, they all stopped along the route to shake people's hands and to hear words of gratitude. Some appeared to be overcome with emotion.
Of course. Of course.
Among the Canadians, it was William.
Of course. It's like, yeah, real soldiers cry, by the way. And how could you not feel emotional? Like with all this happening, I can't really think of an equivalent to this with the United States. I'm trying to. It's like, sure, we celebrate our veterans. We because they're great. And the things they fought and died for American veterans. But nothing like this specific that I can think of where Canada, you guys really have a special relationship and a special story here where it's like so specifically another country, the Netherlands, thanking specifically Canada and Canadians and this dedicated national holiday for it. I can't really think of anything else that's like quite like this. This is very special.
William Seifert, who celebrated his 100th birthday on Saturday.
Wow.
He served as a reconnaissance scout as the Allies pushed westward to Germany.
They deserve everything we have here to welcome them back here. The youngest is 96 years old. That says how much we love them and they love us.
Yeah.
To see that they were that young to die for my freedom, yeah, that means a lot to me, and it makes it more real that in these times, with the current situations going on around the world, that we get to live in this freedom, and we got to thank them for them, and that means a lot.
Wow, these are young Dutch people too. It's obvious if you're in the Netherlands, you are really taught about the significance of what Canadians did 80 years ago. And that's really cool. Some of these Dutch people are getting emotional, and they weren't even alive like 35 years ago.
Among the Canadians who traveled here was Ellen Mole from Etobicoke, a former bagpiper. She joined a similar parade 15 years ago, but said she wanted to return.
Wow.
But I really understood from the love and the gratitude of the Dutch people how important our place can be, how we can help the world.
Yeah.
And it was just one of the most incredible experiences of my life, honestly.
That's amazing.
This parade is just one of many commemorations over this weekend. Sunday is Remembrance Day in the Netherlands, and Monday there will be more ceremonies to mark the occasion when a Canadian general accepted the surrender of Nazi forces in the Netherlands 8 decades ago.
Okay.
Chris Brown, CBC News.
Okay, that explains it. There's celebrations Sunday, and then Monday, which is May the 5th. Really cool, really special. I don't know. There's just something I feel, I don't know. This put me in a good mood, you know? Seeing this and the emotion and just the human connection. Like, I don't see stuff like this very much. And it's just a special, special thing. Bond between Canada and the Netherlands that, like I said, most Americans don't know about. I certainly didn't know about this for the longest time. And it's just really cool to see these celebrations, 80-year anniversary. So cool. So cool that, and I get to be this much of a part of it in the sense that I get to see it and learn about it. But even with that, I feel kind of special for getting to do that. So anyway, if you enjoyed this as well, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment, especially if you're Canadian and you have any thoughts about this Canadians liberating the Netherlands, the celebrations of Canadian veterans, the Dutch people, the Canadian people, World War II. Any thoughts? That'd be awesome to hear from Canadians out there. Or if you have any kind of special relationship to, any of this, that'd be awesome to hear about. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Canadian culture, learning about Canadian culture, and seeing Canadian things I've never seen before, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.